This week saw the release of the latest issue of Absolute Wonder Woman and the final part of her first story arc, The Last Amazon. For those that haven't been keeping up, the Absolute line of comics is set in a brand new universe that was created by Darkseid. This is a universe permeated with his dark and negative energy, causing everything to skew towards cruelty and hatred, and our heroes lead less privileged lives. This Wonder Woman was not raised on Paradise Island in a loving community. She was raised in hell by the witch Circe. The story so far has focused on Diana's attempts at trying to protect Gateway City from the forces of hell, including the massive Tetracide, a being that feasts on humans' minds, bodies and spirits, luring them to their deaths with its mesmerizing call. Diana attempted to save the people by casting a spell that rendered them all deaf, and then sliced the Tetracide in half with her gigantic enhanced sword. At the end of the last issue it looked like the battle was over, and I mentioned that it seemed a bit anticlimactic. Well, it turns out that I spoke too soon. Despite being sliced in half, the Tetracide is not dead. It's able to knit itself back together. This creates something of a dilemma for Diana. She hit the Tetracide with all she had, and it still wasn't enough. So now she's going to have to get creative. We're introduced to Diana's second lasso named Sacrifice. You'll recall from earlier issues that her first lasso is named Vengeance, and it inflicts righteous punishment on any ensnared by it by reflecting back the pain they've caused others. Sacrifice, meanwhile, carries the power of Transmogrification, a power closely associated with Circe in the mainline comic book universe. The distinction here is that Sacrifice determines what to turn its victim into based on who they are. Diana doesn't get to decide what to transform them into. And they very specifically state that Sacrifice has the power of Transmogrification. It's an unusual word, not heard all that often in the English language, but it has a very specific meaning: to strangely or grotesquely transform. We are shown a flashback to an earlier battle where Wonder Woman tied up a harpy with Sacrifice, and the results troubled Diana. We don't see what happened to the harpy, but Diana notes that it's a cruel fate and she's uncomfortable with it, which is a little insulting to Circe, given that Transmogrification is her signature ability. The goddess Hecate appears before Diana to remind her that Circe can see the future, so if she has crafted this tool for Diana, it's because she's going to need it. Diana apologizes to Circe, noting that she is aware that Circe's powers were shaped by her life experience, by horror and pain. Circe also notes that she has been shaped by her love for Diana. Diana asks Circe to help her master the power that Sacrifice gives her. In order to defeat the Tetracide once and for all, Diana binds herself in Sacrifice, and she becomes the mythical figure Medusa, and her gaze turns it to stone. Diana's friends note that the mythical figure had a tragic origin. She was turned into a snake woman by the goddess Athena after she had been violated by the god Poseidon in one of Athena's temples, an early case of victim blaming that seemed out of character from the goddess of wisdom. While Medusa is traditionally portrayed as a mythical monster and a cautionary tale, at the same time you can interpret her as a case for female empowerment. Making eye contact with her is enough to stop a man in his tracks permanently. She represents the power of female agency and resiliency. At first I thought it strange that Sacrifice determined that Wonder Woman should become Medusa, but the more I think about it, the more apt it is. Wonder Woman is also a symbol of feminine strength and independence. While she may not turn men to stone with her gaze, she has a way with words. Just look at how she handles the fighter jet pilots, whose missiles are deflected by the Tetracide back towards Gateway City. She politely asks them to stop, and they comply. Medusa is a figure that Diana feels a lot of sympathy for, and has conflicted feelings towards Athena, a goddess that has historically shown her kindness, blessing her with gifts. If Athena hadn't been so cruel to Medusa, then she wouldn't have been able to call upon her power to defeat the Tetracide, which feeds into the common trope seen in Greek mythology, where the gods do seemingly cruel and awful things in the name of getting the hero where they need to be. In this case, though, we can infer that Athena chose to sacrifice Medusa in order to later empower Diana and save humanity. Still, the power of sacrifice seems to be too much for Diana, as she struggles to find herself again after killing the Tetracide. This is where her friends come in. Diana had previously sacrificed her own right arm to free Steve from hell. He's now willing to do anything for her, and his words bring her back. Steve blindfolds himself and talks Diana down, reminding her of who she is. Witch of the Wild Isle, daughter of Circe, last of the Amazons, and the hero of Gateway City. No one is an island, no matter how powerful they are. Everyone needs help from time to time. And just talking about it was all it took to bring Diana back. Before she can celebrate too much, she takes the final step in defeating the Tetracide, punching him as hard as she can, reducing him to rubble. It's a joyous and celebratory moment as Diana destroys the Great Deceiver with her fist. Note that it's her left hand, not her magical prosthetic arm. Before she can celebrate with her friends, a fiery hand emerges from the ground and drags Diana back to hell. I had initially thought it was Hecate's hand, but if we look at Hecate's hands, they are solid white with a purple aura around them. This hand is burning white hot with flickering blue flames, so their identity is a mystery to me. While this may be the end of the first story arc, this is not the end of Diana's story. Absolute Wonder Woman number 5 is available now from all good comic shops. If you're based in the UK and don't have a comic shop near you, then you might want to use my affiliate link with the UK's largest comic book retailer, Forbidden Planet. I have included a link in this video's description. Alternatively, if the idea of hoarding a collection of comic books fills you with dread, I'm getting perilously close to filling up our storage unit, you may want to try getting a digital copy of the issue from Amazon. I also have a global affiliate link which you could use to help my channel out. I've included my Amazon affiliate link in the info button in the top right corner, as well as the video's description. To those that have read the issue, what did you think? Now that Diana's mission in Gateway City is complete, what's next for her? Is there a risk that the Tetracide stony remains might be misused? And who did that fiery hand that dragged Diana back to hell belong to? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And just before I wrap up, special thanks to all of my current channel members who help make these videos possible. Their names are listed on screen right now. Next time, I'll be back on Friday to talk about my favourite episode of Superman the Animated Series, the delightful noir thriller, The Late Mr. Kent. Next Monday, I'm going to go back to my recent poll on which villains from The Batman you wanted me to talk about. And now I'm on the villain that came third, the ventriloquist and Scarface. And at some point next week, I'll be discussing the latest issue of Two-Face, where Harvey Dent is set to put himself on trial in his own mind. Hope to see you then.